I think the inflation piece is still a great unknown.
Hello and welcome from the sidelines of the Tulane Corporate Law Institute Conference here in New Orleans. I'm Jarrett Banks, editor of CorpGov. Joining me is a repeat guest here, Phil Denning, partner and co-head of special situations at ICR. Phil, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Jared. Great to be here.
All right, let's get right into it. We've seen a lot of curveballs from the new administration. Tariffs. What are we seeing in terms of deals? Is it still friendly?
Yeah, I think everyone started the new year coming in, okay, we're all excited and thinking that we're going to see a change in the administration. I think that kind of changed a little bit in the sense of keeping some of the Biden administration policies in place, so kind of giving some people pause. And I think what, and certainly now tariffs have added another layer of uncertainty or concern. And I think that does have a chilling effect on deals and on transaction activity broadly, just because even if it were dealing with some stuff that was out of the ordinary, but you could kind of start to build it in and get a sense for things, and you want to have a little bit of more certainty. I think now the challenge is when you have these kind of curveballs coming in or not meeting the expectations as people thought, gives a little bit of pause. So I think maybe there's a little bit of a hold, but the expectation is that there will be more activity as the year progresses.
All right, now we've seen deal activity, interest rates have normalized, and yet inflation remains elevated. Is this a peak? How do we see this?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think again, get to that point of people want to know okay, there's certain things that we could kind of put a box around it. So rates normalizing, or at least that people can have a sense as to where we think they're going. You can get comfortable with it. I think the inflation piece is still a great unknown. Was starting to get there. I think we started to reach a peak, was normalizing. So kind of giving a little bit more of that confidence to go ahead with deals. I think the tariff piece now throws that back into the mix and the uncertainty, just because we don't know where pricing is going to go. As a result, we've seen some of the delay tactics now, things being pushed out another 30 days. We'll see how it ultimately does settle out, but I think that uncertainty puts a little bit of a pause on things.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. Now, sponsors still have a lot of dry powder to deploy, but there is some growing pressure for some exits, aren't there?
Correct. That's something we're definitely seeing, is that there's still a lot of capital to deploy, so they are looking to do deals. The sponsors are active, they are looking, but there is that pressure to do some exits. You start to look at the 2018, 2019, 2020 vintage funds. Those are portfolio companies now that they need to be able to transact in. There's been a lot of creativity during the last few years about being able to bring in other co-investors, other things along those lines. But I think there is that growing pressure to see more, to do more exits in order to be able to return more capital to the LPs.
All right, now the media focuses heavily on pure M&A, but we're seeing a lot of other types of transactions, aren't we?
Agree. So I think that those gather a lot of the headlines, a big deal, big spin-off, or whatever the case is. But we are seeing a lot of the other things that are, whether IPOs, we're seeing some activity there. So again, seeing companies going public via de-SPACs again, not at the same level that it was a couple of years ago, but it's still an effective way to go public. So seeing those deals get done. We are seeing a lot of activity in the sponsor arena. Again, hoping to see more exits, but there are add-on acquisitions and platform acquisitions going on. And then we're seeing some of the stuff that is probably more activist driven, or the concern about it. Some more of the spin-offs, and so those other types of transactions, mergers of equals, are all happening. And I think that you're going to continue to see that activity. That bigger M&A might have, like I said, some of more of the chilling effect for a little while, just to get some of the uncertainty removed around inflation and tariffs, et cetera.
All right. Now, you're speaking to clients every day. What are you telling them? How should they be prepared in terms of activist-driven M&A thesis campaigns?
Yeah, it's a great point. We do spend a lot of time talking with clients, and I think that's one thing that we are preaching a lot right now is that preparedness. And it could come from many different ways, right? So, but fundamentally, if you're underperforming your peers, you have a pretty good sense as to there's going to be some pressure put on you, whether it's self-imposed or the board putting pressure on management, or somebody coming from the outside to put pressure on. So we're talking a lot about being ready for someone coming in, putting that M&A thesis, say, hey, run a process and sell the company, because if you are underperforming and there is that kind of expectation there's going to be a vibrant M&A activity and market, that there's going to be a natural exit for the activists to be able to force that activity. So we're definitely spending a lot of time talking about preparedness and saying, hey, look, whether it's M&A or activist defense, or just saying, hey, we need to think about if you're more of a distressed company, what are we going to be able to do here to restructure our business, restructure our debt, and be able to have a viable business going forward. So I think those transactions in different areas, we're talking to clients about a lot.
All right, we'll leave it there. Very informative as always. My thanks to Phil Denning, a partner and co-head of special situations at ICR. I'm Jarrett Banks, signing off from New Orleans.